MPN's Power Player is sponsored by DX1. Connect every part of your dealership with DX1's cloud-based, all-in-one solution, offering a certified DMS, lead manager, website, marketing tools, and more. All built into one smart, seamless solution. Visit dx1app.com for more information.
Hey everyone, it's Greg Jones from Motorcycle and Powersports News, and welcome to another episode of Power Player. Today, my guest is Steve Nemish of Nomar Enterprises. Steve, thanks so much for being in the studio today.
Thanks for having me today.
Pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to getting to know you a little bit more and know more about your company, Nomar Enterprises, and the types of products that you guys do. I understand you've been in the industry quite a while, though, so I'm sure there's people who are familiar with you and what you do. But for those who aren't, tell us a little bit about your background. You know, what got you into motorcycles and the power sports industry to begin with?
So initially, I was 15 years old, and my dad asked me what I wanted for my birthday, and I blurted out a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Never having ridden a motorcycle, never known anybody that rode a motorcycle. I wasn't a daredevil, but I was a skateboarder. Mm-hmm. And he got me a motorcycle. I couldn't ride it until I was 16, and so no one was around, and I thought I'd try to ride it, and I took it out and didn't know how to clutch or shift, and immediately crashed. Yeah. And that was my first experience with a motorcycle.
Yeah, well, hopefully you didn't get too hurt, and obviously it didn't crush the dreams.
Somehow I loved it. I was not a daredevil, but I guess I'm fearless, and that has its pros and cons.
Yeah, and you went from that into actually doing some racing a little later. So initially, yeah, I mean, everyone gets their start on their first motorcycle. There's a lot of things that happened between being 16 and being 42 or 38. I've always had a motorcycle. I've always done my own work. I had a mobile auto service. I attempted to go to automotive training school, but I could not afford to work and put myself through school. Mm-hmm. I've been a cabinet maker. I've had cabinet manufacturing business, interior design business, and then at one point I went to Deals Gap, Highway 129 in Tennessee. Yeah. I think that was in 1998 or 1999. Okay. And I immediately, on that trip, had an epiphany that I need to be in the motorcycle industry. I don't know how, I don't know why, but somehow I knew that I had to steer my way that way. Yeah. Shortly after that, I did a track day at our local track in St. Louis, Gateway International. Okay. And Ed Bargy did the little training school to teach you what the flags and everything are, and you're suddenly race qualified as an amateur. Yeah. And I thought, well, there's a race going on up at Blackhawk next week. Maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll go have fun. It was just more about having fun than anything. I'm not really competitive. I've been with people and raced with people. They're super competitive. They've got all the testosterone, but I'm just really out there wanting to have fun, hammer corners. Another chance to
the
ride.
The perfect corner is what I'm after. There's nothing better to me than the feeling of hitting that perfect corner, going in, coming out, smooth.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
DX1 is the only all-in-one dealership management solution for the motorcycle and power sports industry. The perfect combination of a DMS, website, and suite of marketing tools that encourages dealers to invest in their customers and not into separate software to run their dealership. All of the components of DX1 work seamlessly together to increase their staff's efficiency while allowing dealers to be with their customers rather than behind a computer screen duplicating data entry. OEM integrations, automated scheduling, and smart customer notifications combine with the real-time flow of data throughout the dealership to simplify tasks and improve day-to-day operations, all within one system and one login. This secure, cloud-based solution is accessible everywhere and has proven to be a crucial asset in the success of many Powersports dealerships today. Contact DX1 now and see why others are switching to the only all-in-one Powersports dealership management solution. DX1.
Yeah, my business partner and I both rode motorcycles, and the local BMW store was getting rid of their Coach 220 tire machine. And so we picked it up for $300 and shared it. And I took an ad out in the local motorcycle newspaper. Tire changes $15 off our loading dock. And so people could bring their wheels and tires, and we'd swap them out for them and balance them. I think I had gotten a Lockhart Phillips wheel balancer. And we had a pretty good following, and I learned a lot. And going to the track and seeing the power machines in use, I had a pretty good understanding of how things work. Now that Coach 220 that I had, it was rough.
Yeah.
It was worn out when we bought it, and we're constantly brazing the jaws back together, and stuff's not working, and the little cover protectors are driving us crazy. And then someone brings a Harley in with a big pulley on it, you don't know what to do.
Right.
There was a bad story in there where myself and business partner split up. And in that, my wife and I went to the Chicago International Motorcycle Show looking for a tire machine.
Yeah.
And they didn't have one. So I told her, next year I'm going to be back with a revolutionary new tire machine. And on the way home, sketched out a concept on a napkin, which I still have today in a file.
Cool. Very cool.
And 2 years later, we were at the show.
Yeah.
But immediately, I got a prototype together. The cam lock and dog block system of clamping the wheel is very unique. You can't scratch wheels. It's carbon fiber safe. You can break the bead at ground level. So I solved a lot of issues that guys had with bent rotors, scratched wheels, ergonomics being poor, wheels slipping in clamps and causing damage, expensive protectors that fail a lot.
Yeah.
So I kind of reverse engineered that. And I skipped a big thing. Back when I was 18 or 19, I worked for a famous inventor. His name was Victor Hermelin. And I worked with him designing his latest exercise equipment. But he owned 150 patents.
Okay.
He invented the time release capsule, the skinless hot dog, hair perm back in the 40s.
Oh, wow.
A lot of airplane stuff, a lot of drugs. And so he was kind of in retirement at 75. And I ended up doing a short production factory run. We rented some factory space and to produce 150 exercise machines. And then he eventually licensed that out, and that job was vaporized. I did patent drawings. I dealt with patent attorneys.
Yeah, so you definitely had some experience in all this, and that's what helped you lead to the tire changer?
Yeah, it led me mainly to the material of UHMW polyethylene.
Okay.
So ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. It's got a lot of great properties to it. It's a self-lubricating plastic. It doesn't like to mold. It likes to be machined. And so that's the main material in our tire machines and tools that doesn't scratch wheels.
Yeah.
And no one was doing it. So I actually currently have, I think, 7 patents.
Okay.
And maybe 4 or 5 trademarks.
Awesome. So that was kind of the beginning of Nomar Enterprises, and the tire changer was kind of the starting off point?
I made the prototype, and a friend of mine, Eric, saw it. He said, cover it up, get a patent. And sure, I'll do it. I covered it up. I got a patent. I figured out the mount demount bar. And then the one good partner that I moved away with in the cabinet business that I was in created our first website.
Okay.
And his name was Darren Murray. And I should probably have a bronze statue of Darren in front of my facility, because without him, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he had never made a website with a shopping cart, and that was sort of new. So that's 20 years ago. Yeah, there was a lot of websites and internet stuff going on, but I think it's expanded 2,000 times since then.
For sure.
So we kind of got in at the ground level, relatively speaking, I think. So we have a pretty good presence.
Mm-hmm.
So Nomar Tire Changers, organics are strong.
Awesome. And Steve, elaborate on, what Nomar does today, because obviously it's not just the tire changer anymore. You guys have a few things as well as a new product getting into lifts. So tell the folks a little bit more about
we make 2 brands of tire machine, and that equates to 5 different models. We make wheel balancers. We make spoke weights for balancing wheels. We make some other special rubber-coated tools. We do sell other products that we test and use in our store every day, things that we approve, that we think are a good value. We are not the type of internet seller that has all these products. We pick our own and other products that accentuate. And really, you're only going to use a few tools. You're not going to buy all this stuff to change a tire anyway. And recently, I decided to branch out and make motorcycle lifts. And they're beautiful. They're, in my opinion, the finest lift made.
And was there any, similar to the tire changer, was there like an inspiration behind wanting to get into the lift area?
So we would travel to events, motorcycle events.
Yeah.
BMW Rally, Daytona Bike Week, motorcycle races, all superbike races. And we would demonstrate our tools, under tents. We'd set up our equipment and show people how it works. And that was the generator of sales, of people actually seeing this stuff in action is really the convincer. And then having them come up and showing them how to do it. And they realize, I can do this. It's something they relate to.
Yeah.
If they have the skill to take the wheel off the vehicle, then they have the skill to change the tire. I mean, I can train a 15-year-old girl to demonstrate changing tires. It's happened before.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. I think the people that have the most trouble using our equipment are the seasoned mechanic who have a preconceived notion on what they've been doing for the last 25 years that hasn't been working for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not working for you, you got to figure out how to erase it and just watch the simple steps. You do it the way we show you, you're going to get total results.
Yeah.
So
you were demonstrating this stuff at shows, and
we're demonstrating it. People didn't understand what we were doing. They thought we were selling tires. So it was a constant, well, hey, I need this tire. I need that tire. And it was before Bike Week at Daytona one year that Pirelli approached us and said, well, hey, could you, would you want to get 40 or 50 tires from us and sell them?
Mm-hmm.
So, sure. They worked out a deal. We brought tires and we sold every one that we had. And then we installed them, which started about 10 years of on-the-road service. So we would bring tires to events, set up lifts, and at one point I brought 750 tires to Daytona Bike Week.
Oh, wow.
We would set up racks,
that's a whole
mega tents.
Yeah.
And you didn't know what people needed, so you had to bring a lot of everything. Whereas a BMW MOA rally, my crystal ball works a lot better in the BMW community. Yeah. I know there's 15 different tires they need, and this is the hot one this year. And so at a BMW MOA rally, we could sell 225 tires installed in a week or a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, those are the kind of guys that are our base. Those are the guys that they have some disposable income. They love riding motorcycles and they go through tires.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the BMW brand is fairly easy to work on. It's fairly easy to pull your wheels off, put them back on. There's just not a lot of drama. There's center stands on the bikes, most of them. It's difficult for a guy, more difficult for a guy with a Harley to safely lift up his bike and pull his back wheel off with a big fender on it.
Sure.
So we started, and I swore I would never sell tires when I started off. I just mentally didn't want to absorb all this information when I've got a factory already. But in order to buy tires, we had to have a commercial account. So we approached Parts Unlimited, which is Le Mans Corporation.
Yep.
And they said, nope, we can't sell to you. You're not a dealer. We looked at their requirements, having a brick and mortar, having a showroom, having a service area. It looked like we fit. We called our local rep. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get you in. And we immediately came in as a platinum level with a $50,000 first buy. So we thought, well, maybe we'll try a store. And we had some space that we were already paying for in the office park we were in. I came up with MotoTireUSA. It was MotoTireUSA.com. And we also sell tires online.
Yeah.
So today we stock 800 to 1,000 tires every day.
Wow.
We've recently moved from the office park where we were at for 13 or 14 years into a new facility in Valley Park, Missouri. It's a beautiful building. It's state of the art. We built all the lifts into the floor, flush, so you don't have any lead ramps.
Yeah. And now, is this the facility that used to be a McDonald's? You were telling me that
it was.
Okay.
Yeah. During the beginning of COVID, our lease we knew was going to come up to an end for the store, and I came upon an abandoned McDonald's restaurant.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of deed restrictions on it. Interestingly, McDonald's owns all their property, and they lease the property to the franchisee. And they put a flyover ramp in at this major intersection, and that location lost 50% of its business. They just went up to the next exit to the same franchisee's other spot. So that was closed and abandoned for 2 years.
Yeah.
We got it for a pretty good deal. But the deed restrictions were that you couldn't sell food there for 20 years, or alcohol, or have a dispensary, or porn, and it had to be purchased by a female.
Okay. Interesting.
So my wife and I are a team.
Yeah.
And so she put her name on it, and
there you go.
We bought it.
Yeah.
And we tore it down and built a killer shop. We have a big following in St. Louis. At our new grand opening, I think we had 350 people show up to our new big ribbon cutting grand opening.
Yeah.
And we're a dominant force in the service in our little region that we're at.
Yeah.
We work on all models, all brands. I do see probably 60 to 70% cruisers and Harleys. We do see sport touring bikes, and we have tons of carry-in wheels. People will carry their wheel in, and we don't penalize them if they buy their own tire. I mean, obviously, we didn't sell you the tire, you can just pay a low fair amount, and we'll swap it for you and balance it and give it back to you. And I'm glad you can work on your stuff. At least there's some people that have skills left in the world, you know.
Right. Definitely.
But we use lifts.
Yeah.
And I used and I was a dealer for lifts for a little while too. We sold an import brand. We were not the distributor. We would get it from the distributor. I would go to some shows. I think I went to Timonium Motorcycle Show for several years, and we brought lifts with us, and we'd sell out. You know, it was tough because they're heavy. You know, big 1,500 pound rated lift would weigh 600 pounds in the crate. You know, you're trying to slave that thing out in the snow to someone's car.
I can only imagine.
So that was a little rough, but they did sell. The leading American manufacturer, which I'm not going to say for legal reasons. You know, we sold those. it was not very competitive, and but they are the brand of lift that most shops are familiar with. I had in expansion, I had to order 8 lifts, and I was very disappointed with the product and the customer service. We get these things. We even prepaid for this stuff. We wrote since they were built into the floor, they're part of the building.
Okay.
So in our construction loan, we had to get all that together. We sent them a check for $20,000. And we ordered, I said, I want orange lifts with wheel clamps. They wrote out the contract, we sent them the check. 11 months later, we're right before our grand opening. I have open pits running across my shop floor. I gotta have lifts.
Yeah.
They call, they're done. I'm like, I can't pay freight. I gotta get these things. So I drove up there, picked them up. They were missing the wheel clamps. I had to pay another $2,000 for wheel clamps.
Oh, geez.
We get them back. We start uncrating them. They're the wrong color.
Just a whole cluster.
And they wouldn't make it right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't make it right. And I had previously had wheel clamp failure from them. We had a Honda Goldwing up on a lift. And the mechanic just got done working on it. And this is all on camera. Like I can pull up my phone and show you the video of it.
Yeah.
He's putting his tools away, and that bike is just tilting until the whole thing falls over.
Oh, wow.
And interestingly, I had some conversations in the last couple of weeks with other people that had the same problem. So our new wheel vise that we have corrected all those issues. It's super durable.
Yeah. So Steve, elaborate on that. Talk a little bit more about the lifts that you guys are now coming out with and what some of those differences are over what you didn't like about other people's lifts.
So we're calling it Moto Lift, and the name Moto Lift, we've got the copyright on it, but it was previously owned by 2 other companies, one in the 70s, and then another company let it expire about 15 years ago.
Okay.
But it's relevant to what we're doing, and
Yeah,
I thought
absolutely.
it would be a good search.
Yeah.
In Europe, there's a Moto Lift, but it's just kind of a different thing. The main difference, I would have to say, there's like 6. First off, to compete in sales online, you have to either put out a fantastic product or you got to figure out how to erase all the crap that people are going to say about your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea how to erase all the crap. And people will hammer you if you
Oh, sure.
if you make something crappy or your customer service is poor,
Yeah, it's tough.
they're
to come
gonna
back
they're
from,
gonna
yeah.
smash you.
Yeah.
And I see it with this other major brand. Just in the last couple of weeks, I've been watching videos where guys are showing how stuff isn't flat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like 5 or 6 main points that I addressed when I designed the new lift.
Mm-hmm.
The first was the tie points. So when you put a vehicle up on the lift, say to change a tire, you have to lift one side or the other. And so that requires a scissor jack underneath the vehicle. Usually, you could be using front or rear stands if it's a sport bike.
Mm-hmm.
You can't lift the middle, and you're going to use a couple of straps. And those straps can vary where they really need to be. And all the other brands, they don't really give you a selection of tie points. So what I did, since we have lasers, we cut slots all along the edges of these lifts so you can clip in E-Trek D-rings.
Okay.
So you can put your tie points wherever you want. And some of our accessories actually fit into the same slots. So that just makes it fantastic for the tech that's using that lift.
Sure.
He just, and we even supply straps. We have our own straps produced, and they have carabiners on them.
Okay.
So the carabiner hooks onto the D-ring, and it can't. So you loosen the vehicle, and your hooks fall off. So we solved that problem too.
Yeah.
The second thing that we did was the gauge of the metal. Things have gotten cheaper. I think people are really fighting for profit.
Cost cutting. Yeah.
You've got the import lifts, which a guy on a budget can get a lift that goes up and down. It's not going to go up and down that high, and it's not going to go up and down that fast, or it's not going to be that wide. But in a professional environment, you really need something that's going to be a little bigger, a little stiffer, goes a little taller, goes a little shorter. Because I don't want to, I mean, my mechanics are putting bikes up and down all day.
Sure. Yeah.
If I'm waiting for some hydraulic lift to go down, I'm paying them over and over and over to wait. So that's kind of crap. You know, it doesn't need to be slow. The pneumatic, which is what we're making, we're utilizing a Goodyear air spring.
Okay.
It's good technology. Other scissor lifts and other industries have been using air springs for a long time. This gives us a lot of control. We can control the air going in, the air going out, how fast it goes up and down. The air spring we're using can actually carry 9,000 pounds.
Oh, wow.
It's for a concrete truck.
Okay.
And I think the life on it's going to be 20 years. It's really going to be limited to the rubber.
Yeah.
So it's a reliable, inexpensive solution to the whole cylinder problem, whether it's hydraulic or pneumatic. The other lifts that we have, that we got and that we've had, the seals are leaking, and they put oil on the floor, and there's always a puddle under your lift, which makes no sense. Why should there be a puddle of crap under my lifts?
Yeah.
You know, you move the lift and you get the puddle of goo.
Yeah.
So the air spring is automotive part number. So if we're not going to sell it to you in 20 years, you're going to go to the auto parts store and give them that part number and get one next day.
Yeah.
So it's not going to break the bank. You know,
very nice.
The cost on these big air cylinders is $600-800. The cost on an air spring is a couple $100. So I don't know what it's going to be in 20 years.
Sure.
But I imagine everything's going to cost a lot more in 20 years. The other thing that we did was the gauge. Like I think I started going this. The gauge of the metal, we're using 11 gauge, which is 1/8 inch thick.
Okay.
Steel for the deck. All the tubing, all the scissor frame, super reinforced. We've tested these things up to 1,500 pounds, and we provide the test data in our brochures and on our website. So you can see how that thing performed at different heights and different air pressures. No one does that.
So Steve, you mentioned that you guys have improved these lifts in a lot of ways across the board. What's kind of been the reaction of folks who, obviously you guys are using them, but some of the customers who've jumped on board, what's been the reaction so far?
So it's a really fresh product line. The first batch of 65 isn't actually completely together yet.
Okay.
We have maybe half of that assembled.
Okay.
And we were at the AIME Expo in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. Everyone who spent the time to look at the Moto Lift agreed that it was the best lift they'd ever seen. And we were lifting motorcycles there.
Yeah.
I currently have one in my showroom with a 750-pound motorcycle on it. It goes up faster than any lift that we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One of the most special parts of this is the safety lock mechanism. And that is a sore thumb on most of the lifts out there, if not all. You're having to bend over. You're having to try to slam the thing locked. You're trying to tug the thing unlocked, or it's so loose that you can't keep it up, and you're fiddling. All of my guys for the last 15 years have complained about that part of every lift that we've had. So our mechanism has ball detent catches on springs, and they have preload adjusters. So if in time, after thousands of reps, it gets loose, you can just turn the dial and tune it right in.
Calibrate it.
But it's also automatic. So when the unit is going down after you've reset your latch, it will unlock and reset at the bottom of the stroke and go into its own self-locking cycle.
Yeah.
So there's very little effort to use a safety lock.
Yeah.
There's no fighting, no drama, no anger.
Yeah, that's good.
It's just a sweet thing. And I think the difference between this tool and other tools, you could probably make the comparison by between shopping at Walmart for clothes or going to a nice store, or going to Walmart for a socket set versus going to Snap-on and getting a nice socket set.
Sure.
It's that night and day difference.
Yeah. Well, it certainly sounds like it. Like you said, there can be a lot of little headaches with tools and stuff that doesn't work like it should, and it sounds like you guys have figured out the ways to make it work like it should. So that's great.
You know, it is. And I think the most difficult thing for me to digest is to create this new product line, to do the research and development, the testing. We literally would build one and load it and break it. And we were blowing bearings out until we got the right combination of tolerance and product. And I've had to go all around the world to get just the right bearings, just the right airbag, just the right everything. But as it's all come together, it won't break.
Yeah.
You can load this thing.
Yeah.
I know it's rated at 1,500, but and I think we've claimed it at a 1,200 pound load rating, but that is actually with all the accessories, when you add side extensions and things like that. So 1,350 pounds is the most practical load. It will go up to 1,500 pounds, but you might have to start helping it. And it all depends on your air supply.
Yeah. Steve, you mentioned a couple of the products that you guys have had for a long time, reasons why those have been great and selling well. You know, the other business with the tires, and now getting into the lifts. You know, what's kind of coming down the pike? You know, obviously the lifts is still pretty new. You're still getting your feet under you there with selling them and finishing the first run of them. But, you know, what else can people look for from Nomar?
Well, we're attempting to market this, and I was starting to say it's been a huge hurdle to get to this point where I can get my first 65 units assembled and together, financially, time-wise, because we're kind of working on this in between seasons. We can float our staff from our motorcycle shop to our factory.
Okay.
As it gets slow in the wintertime, and so we move our staff around, and I really had a time window to get everything situated. Now the next mountain that I have to climb is marketing. With the Nomar tire changers and Nomar website, it's pretty solid in the internet. You know, it's embedded in there pretty deep, but no one knows that we make lifts. Trying to get our product to where people can even find it. Right now, if you type in motorcycle lift, our stuff doesn't show up in Google.
Sure.
You could type in Moto Lift and it's starting to show up. So just getting it out there. I think that once people and once dealers and shops realize that there's a better alternative to what they're used to buying, and they get one, they're going to love it. They're not going to get what they were getting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the same price point. So we're offering a better product for the same price.
Well, and as I've said, it sounds like they're a hell of a product. So we wish you luck moving forward with it. You know, hopefully we can help you put the word out about those lifts and help you demonstrate them in use. But Steve, really appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to have you here in the studio. Guys, that's been another episode of Power Player. Make sure you're checking out everything that Steve has going on at Nomar Enterprises. And as always, make sure you're checking out motorcycleandpowersportsnews.com for more motorcycle and powersports content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.